Good evening and welcome to the Wastewater Treatment Facility Management Board meeting of Thursday, March 30th, 2023. I will call this meeting to order. It is now 5:28. And the second item on the agenda is the election of the chair. So at this time, I will ask for anyone interested to put a name forward for the position of chair.
No, thank you.
Are there any nominations?
I will put Mayor Shankar forward.
Okay. Are there any other names to be put forward? Okay. My final call for nominations. If there are no other nominations, because there is nothing else received, Mayor Shankar will be named chair of the Wastewater Treatment Facility Management Board.
Okay.
Fraser son.
Just in case, eh? Luggage.
I do have a motion that reads that Lori Shankar be appointed as the chair for the Wastewater Treatment Facility Management Board until December 31st, 2023. Can I have a mover? Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Password.
Before you start, what's the password?
The Wi-Fi password?
Anyone know?
It's
No, it's town of, it's I think
It's not essential. It's
Prescott.
not essential. I can use the paper. It's fine.
we have it on the wall.
Just Prescott.
I think it's just lowercase Prescott. Prescott, all lowercase.
Thank you.
Okay, so next part of the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Motion reads that the agenda for the Wastewater Treatment Facility Management Board meeting of March 30th, 2023 be approved as presented. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor McConnell will move it, seconded by Councillor Lockett. All in favor? Any declarations of interest?
None here.
Great. No, seeing none, moving on. No presentations, no delegations. We'll go through the minutes of the previous meeting. It's item 7. It's a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting held on September 28, 2022. The recommendation is that the Wastewater Treatment Facility Management Board minutes dated September 28, 2022 be accepted as presented. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor McConnell, seconded by Mayor Deschamps. All in favor? No questions? Approved, thank you. Moving on to 8, it is 2022 year end. Report regarding the 2022 financial results. I'll just read the recommendation first, that the Wastewater Treatment Facility Management Board accept the 2022 wastewater treatment plant financial results as outlined in this report. Can I get a mover and a seconder, and then we'll discuss it. Councillor Kirkby and Mayor Deschamps again. And Matthew, you got this report?
Thank you very much. So I'll better be brief. I don't have a lot of voice left, but when we went through this in September, we did a bunch of estimates as to where we thought we'd end up at year end. Oddly enough, we were pretty close as to where we thought we would be. For 2022, there was total flow through the plant, or average flow through the plant, of 3,570 cubic meters per day. The town of Prescott accounted for 90.66% of that, and the Edwardsburg Cardinal for 9.34. That's a little bit higher than usual for Edwardsburg Cardinal, and I believe that was due to an issue at one of the industrial properties in Johnstown. Total revenue, billing revenue for the year was $1,069,000, which was just a little bit less than what was budgeted for by 1,200. Then the Edwardsburg Cardinal share revenue was over by 16,000, and that was due to the increased flow as opposed to anything else. For the expenses, we were 31,000 under budget, and that was primarily due to repairs and maintenance. They achieved all of their repairs and maintenance as anticipated throughout the year. Just some of the amounts that they had put in for unanticipated failures and things like that didn't come to fruition. So we always try to build in a little bit of flex in our repairs and maintenance budget. So that way, if we do have a catastrophic failure, that we're not having to go into the red on that. So from a surplus perspective, it was a total of 137,000 versus a budgeted surplus of 91,000. Then in terms of reserves, the reserves decreased by $7,000, about $7,700. There was the surplus that went in of 137. If you remember back in 2019, we put $1 million into the equity fund, one investment that has been growing substantially over since 2019. However, 2022 was a volatile year and it ended up losing 120,000. That being said, since 2019, we're still up over 400,000 on that investment. So while it was a substantial loss in 2022, it certainly has been continuing to grow at approximately 10% per year. The other couple of things that went through that account was capital work for replacing the entire SCADA system. So the entire system was updated, brought to the most recent version, and a number of upgrades throughout the plant. SCADA is the computer system that measures and takes in all of the information from the various sensors and whatnot. So that's how we're able to monitor the plant and as well as run it. So if anything goes into failure, that system triggers the emergency alarms that then triggers Aqua that they need to respond. And then also from that, in the 2021 year, we installed variable frequency drives to help with the smoothing of peaks when the large blowers come on. So we received a rebate for that installation of 29,000, and then the town of Prescott used modernization funding to support the SCADA upgrade. So all told, it's a decrease of 7,700, but certainly there's quite a few good news items in there. Thank you.
Matthew, just a note on the staff report, page 6, the budgeted surplus has an error in it.
It does. Thank you.
So it should say 91,535.
Correct.
Any questions for Armstrong?
If I may, Chair. Through you to the CAO. Just question regarding the investment, the one investment. No changes throughout the year. The money's left in there riding the.
Correct. So no money's been added or taken away from that since the original $1 million investment.
Well, the loss maybe on paper, it's not.
Correct.
Okay, so I think that's worthwhile noting. And you mentioned Aqua and if I may, sorry. You mentioned Aqua and I'm assuming that that's the company that operates on your behalf, right?
Correct.
Is there long-term contract for Aqua, or is it a like in my, I've only sat for a few weeks, so excuse my ignorance, but
So absolutely, we have a 5-year contract that we entered into, and then we're just about to enter into the second 5-year component of that contract. We try to do it from a long-term perspective. Generates the best kind of return on being able to move it forward.
Yeah. One more.
Sure.
Is that contract something that goes out? Do you put it out to tender?
Last time we did it was in 2018, and we had 2 bidders, and Aqua was the successful.
Okay, and so this would be the last year of the 5-year term, or
The first 5-year term, yes.
5 years, and then so start into the second.
Correct.
Cool. Thank you.
Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Should be noted for Mayor Deschamps that Aqua actually manages how many? Remember?
They're in the hundreds.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
Don't mind.
They're well well up there. The question I had actually maybe is for Dave, and it's in regards to that increased flow that was reported and accounted for at our last meeting. I think it was Pat that explained that something happened at the plant in Johnstown that went unnoticed for some time, but I was under the impression at that meeting that it went on for a reasonable amount of time. And from the figure that I see here, it looks like it must have been gone for a long period of time. Is that the case? Or do we know?
Well, through the chair, there would have been 3 separate events that would have lasted, at least 72 hours, if not more, of continuous flow from a fairly large internal plumbing line that was actually directed right into the sanitary sewer. So.
Okay, the only reason I asked that is because it mentions that Wastewater Cardinal accounted for 9.3% of the daily average flow. Average flow to me is average over the course of the year. And given the fact that Wastewater Cardinal was contracted for 10%, that would be getting close to the maximum amount that you are entitled to, unless we made some other kind of agreement. So granted, this is an accident, but it puts it up there. I guess it's something that we should note.
So I can address that if you're okay with that. So Edwardsburg Cardinal's agreement is 10% of the total capacity, so they can go up to 470 approximately cubic meters per day on average. So whereas in this particular case, it was 9% of the average daily flow, which was only 3,500. So they're still well below their maximum when it comes to total capacity.
Okay, that's fine. I didn't catch the difference there. Thank you.
Just one more, and through you to Matthew, to the CAO, sorry. I know in our system, at least I believe I'm correct, and maybe yours can correct me if I'm wrong, but if we were to have a large volume leak like that, I mean, that would set off alarms and would be noticed, like within a period of time. Is there a mechanism in place that?
So in 2 of the months in particular, I believe it was in February and March, we have a combined sanitary and storm sewers. And so in wet months, it wouldn't be unheard of to get large influxes. That being said, we'd be more than happy to kind of set that rule in place that if we're getting a non-rain event and we're getting a big influx, then we would get notified and we'll turn around and notify Edwardsburg Cardinal.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Is this something that's pretty rare? Because I don't remember it happening in the first 4 years that I was on this board.
Yeah, I would certainly think that there was more of an anomaly this year. I would anticipate that the company has repaired their poor piping.
And was it the same company 3 different?
It was on 3 different occasions. So
Resolve that, I would assume.
they have resolved that, and I would say that most likely it certainly wouldn't have been significant enough flow into the treatment plant to trigger any type of alarm or red flag.
So just to give you an indication, in the other 9 months, the average for Edwardsburg Cardinal was 8.29%. So and that's one of the reasons why we kind of pulled back the 2023 estimate, not leaving it up in the 9s. So.
My question. Any other questions for Matthew on the? No? Call the vote. All in favor? you. 8.2 is a report regarding the 2023 budget for the wastewater treatment plant. Recommendation reads that the wastewater treatment facility management board approve the 2023 plant budget as outlined in this report. Can I get a mover and seconder on this? Councilor McConnell and Councilor Kirkby. Thank you. Matthew, go ahead.
Thanks very much. So this was pretty straightforward. What we did is took the actuals from last year. Oddly enough, we're very close to where we thought we'd be in September again. Kind of did our first initial run of it. So we went through, now that we know some increases, such as the property tax increase for the United Counties, which affects us. We know that in terms of Aqua's increases, which is tied to CPI. And then we put estimate for some of the other areas. So all of that, I think we're fairly comfortable. It's, again, fairly close to where we thought we would be when we took a look at this in September. And then just kind of worked it through from the various aspects of it. What we are also suggesting, you remember in September, we were suggesting a 3% increase in the water and wastewater rates. However, when we had a chance to do the full budget for the town of Prescott's water and wastewater rates, 3.5% was a number that was better working within the overall. So that's the reason for the 0.5% increase. We always increase our rates at July 1st, so you only get a half year effect of that. So in the kind of information is there, the repairs and maintenance budget, as well as the capital budget is there. And then we're anticipating that the reserve fund, if all of the things are equal, would increase by approximately $100,000 in 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Are there any questions for Mr. Armstrong?
Just mine's a simple one, Chair, and the CAO's already outlined it, but just want to note it moves from 7.46 to 8.5, and I think that probably what an actual is going to be as well. I know I spoke with our CAO when I saw the number, the one that was getting into the nines, and like Councillor McConnell, I had a little slip up on my understanding as well. So I was starting to, worry a little bit about that as well. So I think the 8.5 is going to be very respectful of what it's going to be. So.
And so we've taken a look at the first 2 months. We're right in around that number. So, this February looked much better than last February. It's kind of where we would expect it to be. So no anomaly from that perspective. And generally what happens is a day or two after each month end, I get the information from Aqua, then I pass that on to Edwardsburg Cardinal. So there's a good understanding of how we're going through from month to month on the flow.
Matthew, so that 10%, what is that actually, what's the actual number for flow rate that they can get up to? Like, we have 8.5 and it was 9.3.
So they, and correct me if I'm wrong, but bought 10% of the capacity of the plant. Total capacity for the plant is 4,726 cubic meters per day. And so that's the number. If they were starting to get to close to that 470 number, that's when we need to be concerned.
Okay, so that 470 number, what would that be in percentage so that we get an idea of where we're at, where they're at?
I think that's difficult to answer.
Yeah, so if we were running on the 3,500, and we generally run somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,400 to 3,800, so they would be in 15, 16, 17% of capacity.
They're halfway to capacity now.
Yeah, so a good way to look at it is if you take a look at the flow data here, the previous report, that it kind of shows you for the year they were at 333. But that was an anomaly year. They're usually low 200s.
That number is to a maximum of 470, that number. Okay. That helps me understand. Councilor McConnell?
Mayor Shankar, what the three new members of the board probably aren't aware of is that when the plant reaches 85% of its capacity, we are compelled to plan for an expansion. So, can you tell us where we are right now?
So we're running in the 70 to 77% over the last several years. Here's where there was a lot of flooding because we have combined water and sewer. Then it tended to be a little bit closer to 80, but we have been kind of hovering in that 70% range. So the other thing that we should be aware of is when they originally designed that plant, they designed it so it could have, right now it has 3 settlement beds. It has a capacity to have 1 more. So it would be a fairly inexpensive expansion to get a 33% more. So you could get to 6,000 cubic meters by spending probably in the $3 million range. So in perspective, that thankfully they did do that thinking going forward. And if we were to do that consideration, then it's an opportunity to also to some of the concrete in the older beds by being, excuse me, being able to drain them, remediate the concrete when you have that extra capacity. So just a little bit of background on that.
Yeah, that's good.
And in the last few years, we've been doing a street every couple of years. That is new sewers and whatnot. And I think all the ones that we've been doing have been the ones that the sanitary and storm sewer are combined. So if we do that, it is in effect of increasing our capacity as well, because we don't have that storm water going down into the street. We have it going directly into the water, so that dirty storm water will only affect those people that live along the water east of town. Mention any names, you understand? Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Matthew? I know he's answering all these questions. No? Okay. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. 9 is old business. Is there any old business you'd like to bring forward? None. We'll move to new business. Does anyone have any new business to bring forward?
No, I don't, but I just wanted to, being my first time sitting here, especially if you're married, just a couple of, if you'll.
Sure, absolutely.
So first, it was a fantastic show of respect by your council, and we want to recognize that you could have very well passed this in your budget without consulting us, and I think it's a nice show of respect that you that you delayed that and put it off for us. So to and your council and your staff, I think that's a great way to start. I appreciate that. Seeing the reports and going through the DQMS and the many reports that we received on the industrial park, we want to compliment Aqua and the staff as well. You guys got, I think it was 100% grade as well, with very small areas of improvement. So obviously it's a well-managed and well-run system. So I think that is worthwhile noting and complimenting them for that as well. And lastly, and I know we have a great relationship and a great start and always have, but it's nice to hear the 2 CAOs saying that they're regularly in contact and the respect that they obviously have for each other. It's a great example for the members at council for, excellent decorum and not that we won't debate, but good decorum and a mutual sign of respect. So thankful for that. I think the one change in new business was that, we would like to, and I don't know if this is the right time to mention it or not, CAO, but want to bring that budget back. We want to see that budget go back to our council for approval as well, because it's never done that in the past. And I think that for our group, it's worthwhile seeing that budget go back, having them pass it as well. So,
Do you want to do that before we pass it?
No,
Or does
no.
doesn't have to be?
no, I don't think so. I think it's just a show for our group.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah. So thank you.
Nacho?
So one of the things that we're trying to do with our council, and obviously we would invite Edwardsburg Cardinal as well, is going through each of our facilities. So I think next one that we have up is our wastewater treatment plant. Very exciting stuff. So try to get that planned before the end of April. And if so, we'll make that happen. If not, we'll move to early May.
And we'll invite all of their council.
Absolutely.
Good.
I think it's good for them to see. And I think it's important for them to know about the ability to expand as well. I think that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That is good information. All right, thank you. Does anyone else have any new business? All right. We should look at our next meeting. Will our next meeting not be till September?
We're thinking that it would be a good time was to review the first 8 months,
Right.
get an initial budget for 2024, and then set us up well for as we move forward. I think this time we would like to have another meeting probably in December so that we can solidify the budget a little bit more if you're comfortable with that. And then we'd be able to meet again kind of this time to review the year-end results. So if you're comfortable with that 3 kind of meeting timing, then that works well for us.
And do we want to pick a date today or do you want to work on that?
I think the CIOs can work on that together and find a date.
I'm good with that.
From if an HR, I want to just note for your minutes that, that is part of the agreement and that there are those meetings per year. And I know that that necessarily hasn't been the case over the past. So I'm happy again to see that, getting closer to fall in Scotland. So thank you for that.
Excellent. All right, so that's going to be handled by the CAOs. So the next item is the adjournment. Have a recommendation. Wastewater Treatment Facility Management Board meeting be adjourned. The time is 5:55 p.m. I have Kirkby as my mover. He adjourns every meeting.
It sounded that's why I just said it.
And Deschamps will second. All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion's carried. Thanks, everyone. Meeting.
That's a record.